we're definitely trying to do things differently.
Yeah.
And only because I don't think things are always done that well. I think certainly in terms of office environment and the kind of way in which people, I think, very often are complacent about how an office should function for the individuals that are in there. I calculated a while back that if you start work at around 21 years of age, let's say, and retire at 60-ish, 65, you're going to work 80,000 hours in an office. And that was quite a profound thing for me. 80,000 hours, you're like, you've got to enjoy that office space. So in Revolution, I don't know if it's a revolution, but certainly we're trying to do it in a very different way and to have no restrictions on our, no compromise, I should say, on what we believe is right. And that's certainly something we're trying to do. And if it does influence anyone else in the business community in Cheltenham or wherever to do it a little bit different, then I think that would be great, a great byproduct. There was a massive culture shock 23 years ago when I left the London design agency scene and joined my dad's company on Innsworth Technology Park. Was a huge culture shock, and actually not one that I particularly enjoyed, if I'm absolutely honest. But there was a job to do. There was a family business to get stuck into and try and do something with. And I think probably Studio 19, our new premises, is probably a full circle return to what I left in London. Although actually, arguably, I think we've done this even better than where I was working back in those days. In fact, I've never seen an office like this. So I've only ever seen it actually in my imagination. And then it became a reality. So that's been pretty amazing. But yeah, there's definitely some kind of full circle moment. Only took 23 years.
Yeah.
The kind of key moments, one of the key moments was really when I started to add a design agenda to what my dad and my mum had done with the business, which was basically making makeup sponges and cosmetic applicators. Once we started to design what we made and employ a creative component to our thinking, things started to happen. And they started to happen quite quickly, actually. And that story is absolutely true. The first couple of weeks that I was in the company, I said to my dad, I think we should spend some money on design. We need to start designing products. And he said, how much is that going to cost? I said, well, it's going to cost about £500. I've spoken to a designer I used to work with, and that's what it's going to cost. He said, well, that's fine. We've got £500 budget for our first computer, because we didn't have a computer at that point. We had a word processor, but no computer. So you can choose, do we want a computer or do you want to start designing products? So we started designing products. There's ideas and there's things, creative moments going on all the time at SLG across many different kind of areas of marketing or product development or brand creation and so on. But if we talk about brand creation as the kind of holy grail of what we do when we're thinking of the next thing that we're going to create and then get behind and grow scale, the process is quite intuitive really, in that we have a feeling about something, we see an opportunity, something just feels like the moment. And that will then start very much on a creative footing. How does that brand look? Who's the market audience that we're targeting? What kind of language are we going to use? Graphic design, packaging, all those kind of elements are very early stage in the process as we start to scope out. But what's happening increasingly now as we become a bigger company is we're starting to introduce insight and research into the process, but without losing that intuition. So whereas probably a big corporate company will use data and insight and research as their predominant influence on what they create, we still use intuition and I think creative bearing at the beginning more, and we're just bringing insight and research in just to sense check some of the decisions that we're making. I remember when my dad was doing the industrial unit up, I was still working the agency at the time, and he was like, we're doing this office up, what do you think? And I said, yeah, well, think about artwork on the walls, think about furniture, and I kind of encouraged him from the sidelines to do that, which he did. And all through the different offices and factories that we've been in, we've tried as best we can at each interval to employ a considered approach to the office environment. And I think it's really culminated in this particular space where we had the one-off opportunity in such a huge open plan environment to just do everything we felt we should do, every idea. And I think it's hugely important to people's kind of creative sensibilities if they're in a very creative environment. Absolutely, you need to marinate people in that, and then you'll get the best out of them, I think, creatively. But just, not even just creatively, just generally, you know, the I don't know, the finance team or the quality team, those that aren't necessarily charged with a creative sort of purpose in the company, can enjoy their environment and feel stimulated and motivated and happy and all those sorts of things. Well, one of the things that we can do, we had the capability to do, is to make sure when somebody buys an SLG product that they really enjoy it, or they receive it as a gift or whatever, that they really enjoy that moment. Every single touch point is, whether it's what they're looking at on the front, the fragrance of the product, the way it works on the skin, the copy, the marketing that surrounds that, every single touch point, there's pleasure to be had, and that's something that we really feel is important. So for example, we shipped in 2017, there's a stat, 25 million products around the world. A lot of those would have been gift products. And I had said to the team, and we've had these conversations, that on Christmas morning, on Christmas Day, let's say 10 million SLG products are going to be opened simultaneously, receipted by 10 million people. Imagine that moment, 10 million. We have a responsibility to make that an incredible moment for everybody. So that's something we feel is we're contributing, rather than the disappointment that often is felt when you peel back the wrapping paper and it's another, well, let's say, predictable gift.
Yeah.